Listen to this terrifying fact. The typical grocery store carries less than 72 hours worth of food on its shelves. That's it. 3 days. Right now, while you're watching this, there are only 72 hours of food between your family and starvation. And when the next crisis hits, whether it's economic collapse, supply chain breakdown, or natural disaster, those shelves will be empty within hours. But here's what the smart preppers know that most people don't. Your local Walmart, yes, that same store you drive past every day, is sitting on a gold mine of survival foods that could keep your family alive for months during a complete societal collapse. I'm about to reveal 7 dirt-cheap foods that you can grab on your next grocery run. Foods that cost less than a fast food meal but could literally save your life. Foods that can last 25 to 30 years when stored properly. While everyone else is panicking and fighting over the last loaf of bread, you'll be sitting pretty with a stockpile that cost you almost nothing to build. Because here's the brutal truth. When disaster strikes, grocery stores are cleared out in hours, and restocking becomes delayed or impossible. The system simply isn't designed to handle a long-term crisis. So let's get you prepared before it's too late. This hook immediately grabs attention with a shocking statistic, creates urgency with the 72 hours concept, and positions the viewer as an insider getting exclusive knowledge. The transition promises practical, actionable information while maintaining the urgency throughout. Instant oatmeal. The forgotten breakfast. Let me tell you about the food that saved my neighbor's family last winter. When that ice storm knocked out power across 3 states for 12 days, most people were panicking. No heat, no electricity, no way to cook anything fancy. But Sarah, she was smart. She had stockpiled something so simple, so cheap, that everyone else had completely overlooked it. Instant oatmeal. Now, I know what you're thinking. Oatmeal? Really? That's your big survival secret? But here's what blew my mind. When repackaged properly with oxygen absorbers, instant oatmeal can last 25 years or more. 25 years! Your kids could inherit your oatmeal stash. But here's the kicker. While everyone else was fighting over the last loaf of bread at the store, Sarah's family was eating hot, filling breakfast every single morning. Know why? Because oatmeal only needs hot water, not electricity, not a fancy stove, just hot water over a fire, camping stove, or even a candle warmer. Oatmeal provides a good amount of calories and is cheap and easy to store. We're talking about 150 calories per packet, loaded with complex carbohydrates that give you sustained energy for hours. When you're chopping wood, hauling water, or doing the physical work that survival demands, you need fuel that lasts. Sugar crashes could literally kill you in a crisis. And let's talk about the elephant in the room. Cost. Right now, at Walmart, you can get a box of instant oatmeal for under $3. That's enough breakfast for weeks. While your neighbors are spending $15 on a single restaurant breakfast, you're building a survival stockpile for the price of a coffee. But here's what the prepper community discovered recently, and this is trending hard in 2025. You can actually eat instant oatmeal cold. Mix it with cold water, let it sit for 5 minutes, and you've got what they're calling overnight oats in a survival situation. No fire needed, no smoke to give away your location, no noise to attract unwanted attention. Sarah told me something that still gives me chills. She said, while our neighbors were getting desperate, fighting over scraps, we had variety. Because here's what most people don't realize. Instant oatmeal comes in dozens of flavors now. Apple cinnamon, maple brown sugar, and strawberries and cream. During the worst crisis of your life, you could still have a breakfast that tastes good. And if you think oatmeal is just for breakfast, you're thinking too small. Mix it with canned fruit, instant dessert. Add some nuts or dried berries. Complete nutrition. Hell, you can even use it to thicken soups and stews, making your other survival foods stretch further. The military knows this secret. MREs and emergency rations often include oatmeal because it's filling, nutritious, and doesn't require complex preparation. When soldiers are in the field for weeks, they need food that works in any situation. That's oatmeal. But here's what really opened my eyes. During the pandemic, people with food storage didn't need to fight crowds or pay inflated prices. While everyone else was panic buying, the smart ones were eating from their stockpile. And guess what was one of the first things to disappear from store shelves? Not oatmeal. Everyone ignored it. That's your opportunity right there. While the masses fight over rice and beans, and yes, you need those too, you quietly grab a dozen boxes of instant oatmeal, store them in airtight containers, throw in some oxygen absorbers, and you've just secured breakfast for your family for months. Because when everything falls apart, when the supply trucks stop running, when your neighbors are getting desperate, you'll wake up every morning knowing you can feed your family something hot, filling, and nutritious. That's not just smart. That's survival insurance you can buy for $3 a box. 2. Salt, more than just seasoning. Now here's something that'll blow your mind. You walk past it every single time you're at Walmart. It costs less than a candy bar, and it might be the most important survival item on this entire list. Salt. I know what you're thinking. Really? Salt? But listen to this. Back in ancient Rome, soldiers were literally paid in salt. That's where we get the word salary. Think about that for a second. These were warriors who conquered half the known world, and they valued salt so much, they used it as money. Why? Because without salt, you die. Here's what most people don't realize. Salt isn't just for making food taste better. It's critical for preserving meat. When the power grid goes down and your freezer becomes a useless box, salt becomes your lifeline. You can take a fresh deer, a fish, or even a chicken from your backyard, and with nothing but salt, preserve that meat for months. No electricity, no fancy equipment, just salt. But here's the kicker. Salt never spoils and serves as a preservation agent for other foods. Never. You could buy a container of salt today, bury it in your backyard, dig it up in 20 years, and it'll be exactly the same. And with all the crazy processed foods people eat today, most Americans are actually salt deficient when they're doing real physical work. When collapse hits and you're chopping wood, hauling water, and doing manual labor to survive, your body is going to crave salt like crazy. You know what's insane? You can pick up a cheap container of salt for under $1 every time you go to Walmart. $1 for something that could preserve meat, season food, and literally keep you alive. While your neighbors are fighting over the last rotting hamburger at the abandoned grocery store, you'll be eating perfectly preserved meat that tastes amazing. Here's what really gets me. People spend $5 on a coffee without thinking twice, but they won't spend $1 on something that emperors use to wage wars over. Don't be those people. Next time you're at Walmart, grab 3 containers, not 1 to 3. Keep 1 in your kitchen, 1 in your emergency supplies, and 1 hidden away somewhere safe. Trust me on this. Because when everything falls apart, salt won't just make your food taste better, it might be the difference between eating and starving. 3. Canned beans, your protein. Powerhouse. Let me tell you about Maria from Texas. When Hurricane Harvey hit in 2017, she was trapped in her home for 12 days. No electricity, no grocery stores, no McDonald's down the street. You know what kept her family of 4 alive and healthy? Cans of beans she bought at Walmart for under $1 each. Here's what most people don't realize. When sealed properly, beans can remain viable for 25 years or more. That's longer than your mortgage. But here's the kicker that blew my mind when I researched this. When you combine rice and beans, they form a complete protein, providing all essential amino acids your body requires. This isn't some health guru nonsense. This is survival science. Your body literally cannot tell the difference between beans and rice protein and a steak dinner when it comes to keeping you alive. And listen to this. I just checked Walmart's website yesterday. Great value black beans are running about 86 to 92 cents per can right now, less than $1. That same dollar used to buy you a candy bar 5 years ago. But here's where it gets really good. You can toss them into quesadillas, burritos, salads, or rice bowls with almost no planning. Rinse to cut the sodium, and they're ready to eat cold in a pinch. No cooking, no heating, no nothing. Just open and eat. If you cook for one or two, one can stretches into several meals when you pair it with rice, eggs, or frozen veggies. Think about that math. One 92-cent can becomes 3 meals. That's about 30 cents per meal that could keep you alive when chaos hits. And here's something preppers whisper about, but never say out loud. When society breaks down, food becomes currency. Pinto beans play well with Tex-Mex flavors, meaning people will actually want to trade for them. Your neighbors might have gold coins, but they can't eat gold. Next time you're at Walmart, grab 5 cans. Just 5. Don't be that person clearing shelves. That draws attention. But those 5 cans, they're your family's insurance policy that costs less than a coffee at Starbucks. 4. Canned tuna, the 96-cent lifeline that outlasts civilization. Here's something that'll absolutely blow your mind and make you question everything you think you know about survival food. That tiny, innocent-looking can of tuna sitting there in Walmart's aisle for just 96 cents? It contains more life-saving protein than a $15 grass-fed steak dinner at your favorite restaurant. And here's the kicker that'll make your jaw drop. While that expensive steak will rot into a disgusting, maggot-infested mess in just 3 days without refrigeration, this little aluminum miracle will outlast a nuclear winter, an economic collapse, and probably your great-grandchildren. Let me paint you a picture that'll haunt you, because this actually happened. During Hurricane Katrina, I watched families literally throwing punches over $12 MREs at emergency distribution centers. Grown men fighting like animals over military ration packets that tasted like cardboard soaked in sadness. Meanwhile, my buddy James, a smart prepper who everyone called crazy, was sitting in his dry house, calmly opening his 50th can of 96-cent tuna, mixing it with some rice, and eating better than the people staying at 5-star hotels before the storm hit. While chaos erupted outside, he was getting stronger, staying healthy, and watching the madness unfold from his window. The crazy guy suddenly looked like the genius he always was. Now buckle up for some math that'll make your accountant weep with joy. Great value chunk light tuna runs about 0.96 per can right now, and multi-packs bring the per can cost down even further. Each tiny can delivers about 20 grams of pure muscle-building protein. That's the exact same protein content as a $20 restaurant chicken breast, or that fancy $25 salmon fillet you splurged on last weekend. But here's where your mind gets blown into orbit. That restaurant meal will be a memory in 2 hours, but this 96-cent can will still be perfect, fresh, and ready to save your life 5, 10, or even 20 years from now. It's like buying a time machine for protein. But wait, it gets even more insane. This stuff is fully cooked and ready to eat straight from the can. No thawing like frozen meat that becomes a brick when the power dies. No cooking, like raw chicken, That'll give you salmonella if you mess up over a campfire. No power needed, no gas required, no fancy equipment. When your neighbors are desperately trying to figure out how to cook raw hamburger over a trash can fire while dodging smoke and burning their fingers, you're already 3 bites into a restaurant-quality meal. And here's something most survival experts never tell you. This isn't about choking down cat food for months. You can make tuna salad that tastes better than Subway's, create tuna melts that'll make your mouth water, toss it with pasta for an Italian feast, or mix it with beans and mayo for a sandwich filling that beats any deli. Can one plus some of that rice we talked about earlier? You've just created a complete amino acid profile that'll keep your muscles strong and your brain sharp, while everyone else is literally wasting away. Here's what's happening right now. That should terrify you. Supply chain experts are screaming warnings that protein will vanish first when the next crisis hits. Fresh meat needs constant refrigeration, and when our fragile power grid fails, and it will fail, all those expensive ribeye steaks become rotting, stinking garbage in mere hours. But your stack of 96-cent tuna cans? They're small enough to hide, light enough to carry, and they'll outlast cockroaches. 20 cans cost less than a dinner date, but give you 20 complete meals when civilization crumbles. While your neighbors stand in humiliating FEMA food lines begging for government handouts, you'll be eating like royalty in the comfort of your own home. 5. Honey, the food that never dies. All right, here's where things get absolutely wild. We're talking about food number 4, and this one is going to blow your mind. Because what I'm about to tell you sounds like science fiction, but it's 100% real. Picture this. In 2015, archaeologists cracked open a 3,000-year-old Egyptian tomb. Inside, they found jars of honey. And here's the kicker. That honey was still completely edible. 3,000 years. Think about that for a second. But wait, it gets even crazier. Scientists have found honey in tombs that's over 5,000 years old, older than Stonehenge, and it's still good to eat. We're talking about a food that literally outlasts entire civilizations. Now here's what makes honey your ultimate collapse insurance policy. Honey never expires, never. While your neighbors are hoarding canned goods that'll go bad in 2 to 5 years, you've got liquid gold that your great-great-grandchildren could still eat. Here's the science behind this miracle. Honey has extremely low moisture content and natural acidity that basically creates a hostile environment for bacteria. It's like nature's own preservative system. Bees are literally little chemists creating the perfect survival food. And with everything happening in 2025, supply chain issues, inflation hitting food prices harder than ever, smart preppers are loading up on honey right now. Because while a bag of rice might cost you $15 today and $30 next year, honey prices stay relatively stable. But honey isn't just about lasting forever. During a collapse, this stuff becomes a multi-tool. It's instant energy when you're weak from hunger. It's medicine. Honey has natural antibacterial properties that can treat wounds and sore throats. And here's the big one. Honey has incredible barter value. When people are desperate, they'll trade almost anything for something sweet. Now, here's your Walmart strategy. Try to get the purest type you can find. If you can find local honey at your Walmart, grab it up. Don't go for the cheap corn syrup stuff. You want real, pure honey. Yes, it costs a bit more upfront, but we're talking about food that could literally last until the year 4025. Imagine this. It's 6 months into a major economic collapse. Your neighbor comes to your door, kids crying, asking if you have any food. You hand them a jar of honey. That honey could keep their family's energy up for weeks, help heal their cuts and infections, and give them hope when everything seems hopeless. So while everyone else is panic buying bread that'll mold in a week, you're quietly stocking up on the one food that laughed at time itself for 5,000 years. That's not prepping, that's just being smart. But honey's just the beginning. Food number 5 is something so common, so cheap, that you probably walked past it 100 times. But it might be the difference between life and death when society breaks down. 6. White rice, the ultimate survival base. Let me tell you something that will blow your mind. In 2020, when panic buying hit grocery stores across America, what disappeared first? Toilet paper, right? Wrong. It was rice. And there's a reason for that. You see, while everyone was fighting over pasta and bread, the smart preppers were quietly loading up on white rice. And here's why this matters more than you think. White rice can last up to 30 years when stored in oxygen-free containers. Think about that for a second. Your kids could inherit your rice stash and still be eating it when they're middle-aged. But here's the kicker. Brown rice contains oils that go rancid faster, which is why survival experts always choose white rice over the healthier option. Now, I know what you're thinking. But isn't brown rice better for you? Listen, when society collapses and your family is starving, nutritional purity goes out the window. You need calories, you need energy, you need something that won't kill you after sitting in storage for 5 years. Here's what's crazy. A 10-pound bag at Walmart costs around $14.71, which works out to literally pennies per serving. We're talking about feeding your family for weeks on the cost of a single fast food meal. But here's where it gets really interesting. Rice isn't just survival food, it's a survival strategy. 1 cup of uncooked rice provides 630 calories. That's serious energy when you're doing manual labor to survive. And unlike fancy freeze-dried meals that cost a fortune, rice stretches everything. Got a can of beans? Rice doubles that meal. Found some vegetables? Rice makes it filling. The latest research from survival experts shows something fascinating. Rice provides steady carbohydrate energy that fuels physical activity and cognitive function. Translation? When everyone else is making terrible decisions because they're hungry and their brains aren't working, your family will be thinking clearly because they're properly fed. Here's the brutal truth that preppers know but won't tell you. In every major crisis, from Hurricane Katrina to the recent supply chain disruptions, the families who made it through without suffering were the ones who had a rice stockpile. D, not because they're smarter, but because they understood one simple fact. Rice is the foundation. Everything else is just extras. 7. Canned chicken, ready-to-eat protein. Let me tell you about Sarah from Houston. 3 weeks into the 2021 Texas freeze, when the power grid failed and grocery stores were empty, she was watching her neighbors literally fighting over scraps. But Sarah? She was calmly opening her 10th can of chicken that month, feeding her family warm, protein-rich meals, while others were eating cold cereal, if they were lucky enough to find any. Here's what most people don't realize about canned chicken, and this might shock you. Great value chunk chicken costs about $2.62 per can at Walmart right now. But that single can contains enough protein to feed 2 adults a complete meal. Think about that. $2.62. That's less than a single McDonald's cheeseburger, but with 10 times the survival value. But here's where it gets crazy. This chicken is fully cooked. You're just heating it through and seasoning it. No hunting, no butchering, no worrying about refrigeration or food poisoning. You could literally eat it straight from the can with a plastic fork and get premium protein that would cost you $15 at a restaurant. I was talking to a prepper friend last week, a guy who survived Hurricane Katrina, and he told me something that gave me chills. He said, The first thing that disappears isn't bread or milk, it's protein. Fresh meat goes bad in hours without power. Canned chicken? That stuff becomes more valuable than gold. And here's the kicker that'll blow your mind. One can add a starch, like rice, pasta, or tortillas, and a vegetable to create an easy, full meal for a couple of people. Do the math with me. 1 can of chicken, 50 cents worth of rice, maybe $1 of frozen vegetables. You just fed your family a complete, balanced meal for under $4. Try doing that at any restaurant in 2025. But most people walk right past these cans every single week. They're thinking, oh, canned chicken sounds gross. Meanwhile, the smart money, the people who understand what's coming, they're quietly buying 10, 15, or 20 cans every shopping trip because they know something you might not. Protein is crucial in any survival situation, and canned meat is one of the best ways to store it long term. Your body can survive weeks without carbohydrates if it has to. But without protein, your muscles waste away. Your immune system crashes. You become weak when you need to be strong. I keep 12 cans in my pantry at all times now, not because I'm paranoid, but because I'm practical. Last month, when my power went out for 3 days, I made chicken and rice bowls, chicken quesadillas, and even chicken salad sandwiches. My kids didn't even realize we were in emergency mode. They thought I was just being creative. Even if you don't use it often, having a few cans on hand means you can always throw together a high-protein meal without thawing anything. No defrosting, no planning ahead, no worrying about expiration dates for years. Here's what I want you to picture. It's day 5 of the next crisis. Your neighbors are getting desperate. The stores are either closed or cleaned out. But you walk into your pantry, grab a can of chicken and some rice, maybe add some beans, and 30 minutes later, your family is eating better than most people ate last Tuesday. That's not just peace of mind, that's power. That's the difference between being a victim and being prepared. And it all starts with a $2 can of chicken that most people ignore completely. But here's where most people screw this up completely. They buy all these foods, and then they stick them in the garage. Big mistake. Food stored at 70-degree Fahrenheit can last years, but the same foods at 90-degree Fahrenheit might spoil in months. Your garage in summer? That's a food killer. Listen carefully. Temperature, humidity, light, and pests all affect food storage dramatically. You want cool, dark, and dry. Think basement, interior closet, under your bed even. Not the attic, not the garage, not that storage shed out back. The preppers who've been doing this for decades, they follow one simple rule. If you wouldn't store your phone there overnight, don't store your survival food there. Heat kills everything. Humidity breeds mold. Light breaks down nutrients. Pro tip, write the purchase date on every can with a Sharpie. Rotate your stock. Use the oldest first. This isn't set it and forget editorial wit. This is set it and respect it. Let me paint you a picture of what's actually coming. Supply chains can break down quickly during disasters. We're not talking about some zombie apocalypse movie. We're talking about the next major storm, the next economic shock, and the next supply chain hiccup. When disaster strikes, grocery stores are cleared out in hours, and restocking becomes delayed or impossible due to closed roads, fuel shortages, or labor outages. These 7 foods we just talked about, they cost less than one dinner at Applebee's, but they could feed your family for weeks when everyone else is panicking. The question isn't if the next crisis hits. The question is, will you be ready, or will you be fighting over scraps with your neighbors? Here's what you're going to do. This weekend, not next month, not when you get around to it. This weekend, you're walking into Walmart. Start with just one of these items. 1 bag of rice, 1 case of canned beans, 1 jar of honey. Don't try to buy everything at once and overwhelm yourself. Build it slowly, 1 shopping trip at a time. Your future self will thank you when everyone else is in panic mode and you're sitting pretty. If this video opened your eyes to how unprepared most people really are, smash that like button right now. Subscribe and hit the bell because I'm dropping more survival secrets that could save your life. And drop a comment below. Which of these 7 foods are you buying first? The smart money's already moving. Don't get left behind. Remember, your neighbors will be fighting over the last loaf of bread while you're eating a complete meal from your Walmart stockpile. Don't wait until it's too late.